Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jim Porteous, and I am with Plastic Trends. And I'd like to thank Brian for giving us this opportunity to come in today. I'd like to talk about the product that you probably buy the most of, and that's our SDR35 gasketed line. Like I said, it's the newest tooling in the business, and we've built some real features and benefits into this product that makes us different from our competitors. We have a long lead-in to prevent fish mouthing on the gasket. The pipe hits the gasket square. We have square pipe stops throughout. You'll notice some of our competitors put a bevel on this stop. It takes 30% more pressure to push the pipe past the square pipe stop than it does a bevel. On all of our branches, on our T's, our Y's, our TY's, we have gone to a standard to a DR18 wall thickness, which is the thickest in the business. So on our standard SDR35, we have DR18 wall thickness on our branches. We did this because as an industry, we saw more failures. We're digging in places that we didn't dig 10 years ago, and we're seeing more vertical riser installations. As you know, the recommendation is to put your riser at a 45 degree on undisturbed compacted soil. Well, if you're 15 feet down or deeper, you just don't have the space to go at a 45 degree. You're dragging a trench box, you're going at 60 degrees, sometimes 90 degrees. So what we were seeing was, from what we call drag down, we were seeing the risers literally being pushed past the pipe stop and causing fractures on the branches. So we went standard DR18 throughout. And we've also come up with a couple products to help prevent that drag down from happening. I think part of the issue was that also the utilities today are so concerned with infiltration that they were TVing now much more often than they used to. It will pass air, and then they might go in 6-9 months up to a year later, while the contractor still has responsibility for the project, set a TV up there, and they'll see infiltration. A couple things. What causes the infiltration is sometimes hairline cracks in the fitting, and the water table will be seeping into the fitting. Okay? The moisture from the outside will be seeping into the system. And if you can imagine, if there's multiple of that, the reason they care is because it costs them money, because all of this is treated. And the more gallons they have to treat at their plant, it's revenue lost. So we have come up with some very simple solutions, and I put together a stack of paper. There's individual cut sheets on everything I'll be talking about. I also have full catalogs if you'd like to grab some of those later. This particular product is called a vertical riser adapter, and it's just a flanged fitting, and it fits either in your 45 or right on the branch, and then you would invert your riser, and so your riser pipe sits right on this flange and sits right here. So this would sit here, you invert your riser, and your riser pipe sits right on here, puts all the pressure on this flange, and then nothing can be pushed through the fitting. So I think when you're looking at some of your plans and you're doing takeoffs, you might, and it's deep and you have some concerns that SDR35 might not be suitable for the job, or you need some extra precaution, this is just something that you can offer the contractor. This is called a controlled settlement joint, and what this is has two Reber style gaskets in it. The first one is of a durometer where it's just a typical sewer installation, about 40 foot-pounds of pressure. The second gasket is about 500 foot-pounds of pressure. So once again, you would insert this here, and you can do this at the bottom, but I've also seen them installed at the top of the riser. The second gasket takes about 500 foot-pounds of pressure to get past the gasket. So your riser sits in here, but if there are pressures either caused by live load or just compaction over time and the dirt grabbing the riser pipe, there's 5.5 inches of allowable axial movement, which is far greater than you're going to see in any system movement. So once again, just another option to offer your customer. If you'll notice on a lot of fittings, most of the fittings that you'll see, that the gasket is almost right to the top edge. And whether they put a sonic weld ring, like some people do, or they just actually mold just a little lip up there, there's very small space between where the pipe hits the gasket and the end of the fitting. What we wanted to do was to make sure that when the pipe hits the gasket that it's square. Our SDR26 line, which of course is heavier than the SDR35, once again DR18 on the branches, just standard. Once again, square pipe stops throughout. Once again, a fairly long lead-in. And this one is all color-coded. So your contractors or the inspectors will know that they have heavy wall in the ditch. This is put on, there's a 360-degree circumferential cut, square cut on this fitting. And then this is a mechanical process that snaps this into place and locks in the gasket. It cannot come off. We're seeing our heavy wall business grow every year. I think a lot of people are just concerned that SDR35 might not be strong enough. And like I said, the ditches are getting deeper in soil conditions that they hadn't dug in before, and they just want to go to a sturdier fitting. A lot of them are still using 35 pipe though. They're not going to the 26 pipe. And in the vast majority of failures that I've been familiar with, it's never been on the pipe. It's always been at the fittings. We have tested this fitting, and if you're familiar with some of our competitors' fittings, you will find that ours are heavier than almost anyone's. We've tested this fitting here to 400 psi because we're very interested in molding a pressure fitting, which we don't have in our line right now. We fabricate pressure fittings, we don't have a molded one. And of course what fails is the gasket, not the fitting. We have not devised a way yet to manufacture, to mold a Reber style gasket into this fitting. That covers the SDR35 and the SDR26, which like I said once again is the vast majority of the product that you're buying. But we are also a full line manufacturer of DWV. The mechanical side of the business, large tilt-up jobs, flush mount drain, molded. Once again, there's on every tilt-up building there are these. And for whatever reason, they all go Schedule 40. So we mold Schedule 40 through 12-inch. We were the first people to mold 10 and 12-inch Schedule 40 DWV. We have since been copied. But like I said, on every large tilt-up job, there's a nice amount of this type of product that we'd be more than happy to quote Bill or Duffy or any of their jobs that they're doing. The one nice thing about molding up through 12-inch now is that once you've got a contractor using a molded fitting versus a fabricated, when they know that it's a true 90 or a true 45, it makes a tremendous difference at the end of the run because they know they're going to meet up perfectly. So there are still a lot of fabricated DWV out there. We compete against it, but I think if we have an opportunity to promote our molded, it makes a world of difference. I mentioned that our company started on just ASTM 3034 PVC solvent weld fittings. We probably have the broadest line of solvent weld PVC fittings in the industry in regards to different configurations. I know certain areas buy a lot more solvent weld where it's specified, but that is certainly a big product mix for us. We don't sell a lot of glued fittings to this location per se, but the Vancouver market is a very, very large glued market, way more so than gasketed. Gasketed two-way cleanouts, we mold these through 8-inch, and it's got a full throat so they can get their mandrel through there, which is somewhat unique because some of the competitors in the molding process, they have to pinch this throat. So it's a real sales feature with plastic trends. Molded backwater valves, both in 35 and Schedule 40. Not a big market for it up here, but there are certain areas that specify it on the property line. This one has the gate in it, and then with a screw top, put your riser, your locator riser on there, and it just sits right on the property line. There is a U fitting, and it's a DR14. I mean, it's thicker than C900. And what we did was we had some extra tooling in the plant, and we thought, well, why not try to mold a product that we know, no matter how deep the ditch or how nasty the installation, that it's not going to fail. So we, in limited configurations, we make Ys, we make some 45s. We make a molded product out of DR14 that we will guarantee. We have a machine back at the plant called an Instron machine, and what it does is it crushes things. And so we can check our ductility, we can check our crush pressures, and so on and so forth. We've put pipe in this and built a little system on our DR14, went to crush it, and the pipe crushes before the fitting moves. Outside of Brockton, Massachusetts, their systems are about 20 feet deep, and what they're doing is they're using SDR35 pipe, and they're using C153 fittings, and going MJ SDR transition with all the T-bolts and the glands and everything, and then they're using iron risers. None of it's glass lined, it's all cement lined, and how long till the gases corrode through something like that? I've talked to city people and engineers about that fitting. I could save them on hardware, it's a push-on, they could go to plastic throughout the system, wouldn't have to worry about corrosion, and so far I have not been successful. Custom fabrication. We own the largest fabricator in Canada by the name of Leron, which is right up in Surrey, just our neighbors to the north here. We fabricate through 36 inch. We can do any sort of fitting. If you see it on the plans, we can build it. I know I've worked with the estimating department on some quotes for some large diameter products, but we'd be more than happy to quote you on any special needs. And that's both in non-pressure 25, pressure 18, or 35, 26, whatever, it doesn't matter. But we fabricate pressure fittings. Briefly want to talk about the Bulldog. Are most of you people familiar what it is? We are working with a company by the name of S&B, which is a gasket manufacturer. They probably have literally 90% of the gasket market in the United States on Reber style gaskets. I mean, they're probably in every piece of pipe that you buy. Not only that, but they make the resilient wedge rubbers for many, many valve manufacturers. But S&B designed a restraint system for pipe that is similar to, maybe you've heard of a product called a grip ring. It's very similar to that, but what they've done is instead of an external installation using a gland, they literally install it inside the pipe during the belling process. And it works really, really well. We've got jobs. We did a job in Texas. We just finished a job in Minnesota, and we have 2 pieces of pipe in Astoria right now, and the city just put them in and they work great. Royal is now manufacturing and we're selling this pipe in Canada, but we're also selling it throughout the United States. It's something that you might want to be aware of. And we fabricate fittings to go along with that. So you've got restrained fittings as well as restrained pipe. Regarding quality control, I think it's important to note that every 3 hours in our manufacturing process, we pull pieces out of the machinery, and it goes through a rigor of tests in our lab. In the meantime, all of that production run is quarantined until it meets all criteria. We also have 200,000 square feet of inventory in Michigan, but we have 15 other warehouses located in the United States to pull from. So we can see access, we have visibility throughout that entire chain, and we'll pull product from a myriad of different locations to get your product when you need it.